This session will be focusing on how higher and technical education institutes
आवाज ही नहीं आ रही.
dealing with 19 pandemic. आवाज नहीं आ रही. Okay. Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yep, just
Okay.
हाँ जी कर रहे हो.
Sir,
कैसे हैं? नमस्ते, कैसे हैं?
बहुत बढ़िया.
मैं पंकज गर्ग, ज्योति विद्यापीठ से.
हाँ पंकज जी नमस्ते.
नमस्कार.
सो हम बस शुरू कर रहे हैं और ये जो पैनल डिस्कशन होगा, आई जस्ट इंट्रोड्यूस ऑल ऑफ यू दैट वी हैव Mr. Scott also with us, who is from Switzerland. So I'll be also talking in English mostly here, so that Scott can also
Me
be with
too.
us on the stage. So I have requested Dr. Ravi Gupta also to join in this session. Dr. Ravi Gupta, founder and CEO of eLets Technomedia, and he will. I will request him also to join because this topic is not only very prominent for universities but across the globe for everybody. It is very important that how all the organizations are coping up with this COVID-19 pandemic and how they are dealing with it, how they are working towards it. So I requested Dr. Ravi Gupta to join in, although he was not a part of it, but he had also shown interest in joining this session because COVID-19 and dealing with it is a issue with everybody. Along with him, he is also, as an organization, is always working towards how we can do as best as possible in this pandemic. So I welcome all of you and just introduce the panelists of this session. As I already explained, that the topic is how higher and technical education institutes are dealing with COVID-19 pandemic, and we have eminent speakers with us. Dr. Pankaj Garg, founder and advisor of Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. Welcome, Pankaj ji.
नमस्कार.
And I welcome Professor M.K. Gadolia. He is Vice Chancellor
कार्तिक भाई रिपीट हो रही है वॉइस आपकी. वॉइस रिपीट हो रही है.
Okay. I just check. So, Vice Chancellor of Shri Kushal Das University is with us. Welcome, sir. Mr. Ashish Mathur, Deputy Director of Training and Placement and Public Relations in NIMS NIMS University. And then we have Mr. Scott Dahel, Masters Program Director, Global Hospitality, Switzerland. He's with us. And to moderate this session, I request Dr. Ravi Gupta, founder and CEO eLets Technomedia Private Limited, to please take over this session and moderate.
sure.
Dr. Ravi Gupta.
So I welcome all the panelists and बहुत धन्यवाद Karthik for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. And the topic of this session is how are the higher education institutions dealing with the COVID-19 crisis. So I will be I have a request. I will request all the panelists to kindly put your mic on the mute so that the audio will be clear for all the audience. And I welcome all our audience who are joining us live on the Facebook and YouTube. So I will request each of the panelists to give their views on the crisis and how are they dealing with it in just 2.5 minutes each max, and then we will take up a round of questions. So please talk about challenges and how did you address them. So I will request each of the speakers, and let me start with Scott. Scott, welcome on the panel, and please talk about how has your organization dealt with this COVID-19 situation, and how are you solving the challenges posed?
Of course.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's great to be here from Switzerland. For those that don't know, I'm a program director at La Roche Global Hospitality, which is a hotel school in the Valais area of Switzerland, so about 2 hours from Geneva. It's an extremely international school. Only about 10% of the school is Swiss, and more than 50% of the school comes from the Asia Pacific region. 30% of our students are from China. 15% of our students are from India. And so it's a very global population. On the 15th of March of this year, the Swiss government determined, we didn't determine that schools had to be closed. And so we sent our students home, and we went into an emergency online learning environment. And so you can imagine for some of the professors, we teach culinary arts. It's very difficult to teach culinary online. I'm very fortunate. I teach digital transformation. I teach digital marketing. And so my courses moved online quite easily. And after an adjustment period, I would honestly say that it's resulted in more small group work, not so much large class work and things like that. But the transition has been not so bad, honestly. And we anticipate to bring our students back at the very end of July and finish the semester. So that's where we currently stand.
Sure. So good to hear that you were able to handle the situation so well. And may I request our next speaker, Mr. Ashish Mathur, who is the Deputy Director from the NIMS University. If you can talk about the challenges and how did you deal with them briefly. Please unmute yourself, Ashish.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes.
I represent NIMS University. I am the Deputy Director at their Training and Placement and the Public Relations.
Please speak
NIMS University
loudly,
is a
आशीष जी
multidisciplinary
थोड़ा सा जोर से बोलिएगा प्लीज.
Okay, I'm not audible.
नहीं आवाज आ रही है, हल्की आ रही है, हल्की.
Now is it clear? अच्छा, हल्की आ रही है. Okay. तो जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, NIMS University is a multidisciplinary university. We have 11 different colleges and we offer more than 300 courses in the university, and we have attached hospital with us. The COVID-19 pandemic, in a sense, has been a blessing in disguise, and it has been a challenging thing. We have been facing the challenge. The basic challenge, the foremost challenge, was interacting with the students. Now, the university is known for the classes; it's known for the academics, and the biggest challenge was the classroom teaching was hampered. So, as soon as the pandemic was announced and the government announced all those measures, we followed the guidelines of the Higher Education Department, and all the classes were suspended. Now the classes reaching the student was the biggest challenge that we faced. Online classes has been our answer to this challenge of pandemic corona. Now what we have done as a university, whatever touch points are there for a student in the university, first is they touch in the university through the classes, their academics, then comes their different activities, their trainings, their internships, their placements, and also their value-added courses. So at all these touch points, the university has taken a proactive approach and have provided and has touched the students on all these points. So the faculties are conducting online classes. The online classes are conducted through the Zoom apps and the other applications. They are also sent the PDFs and the PPTs of whatever topics are being taught. In addition to that, we are conducting training sessions like soft skill training sessions through online classes, through the virtual things. We have also tied up for the internships, because internships have been a big challenge for us in the training and placement department also. So we have tied up with the online internship companies who give a lot of internships to the students, and the students are now taking internship on a lot of topics, on varied topics. Also, what we have done as a university is we're tied up with some online courses companies like Coursera. So they run a university course program wherein we have asked our students to take at least two value-added courses so that their learning is not hampered. The foremost aim of the university was that the learning should not be hampered. And in a sense, I must say that we have been able to overcome that challenge. Now, the next challenge is the exam of the university. The university is taking these steps as per the guidelines of the higher education department. We'll be conducting those exams in the times to come. So this is how we are overcoming the pandemic.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good to see that the university has taken rapid actions and helped the uh, problem to be addressed. And may I request Professor M.K. Gadolia from the Shri Kushal Das University to speak, please. You are not audible, sir. Sir. You are not audible. Phone is on mute. Okay. Mute पे है.
Just a minute, sir.
Just unmute it. Yeah.
Unmute करो.
Yes, yes. We can hear you now. Please speak.
Now it's okay, sir?
Yes, yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes. Please speak.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm thankful to ILETS for organizing this online conclave and giving me this opportunity to share the views of Kushal Das University and recognizing our responsibility in this pandemic. The day Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi announced the Janta curfew, we decided to hold the online knowledge, and the knowledge initiative which we took was given the name of College Band Hai, Knowledge Nahi, and due publicity was given in the local newspapers so that all the students who are sitting at their homes may receive this information that Shri Kushal Das University will be organizing the online classes on Facebook. We hired the services of a motivational speaker and gave him some general topics so that the interest of the students come alive, and then later on we can address their curriculum needs. So initially for the 10 days on the Facebook page, we took up the topics like confidence building, how to appear in interview, communication skills, personality development, spoken English. These are the topics which are general in nature and which are the need of every student. How to speak in public, and these programs which were live on the Facebook were attended by so many students. Then we start to took up the challenges of their studies because the lockdown come all of a sudden with a short notice, so we were not prepared. So this time we took for the preparation of the online classes, and our faculty members were directed to prepare the online lectures so that the delivery can be made. At this juncture, we were having two problems.
I think the connectivity is lost. But I think we heard a very interesting way of online teaching, which is on Facebook, and this is very innovative and interesting, and we will connect with the professor when he's online again. And let me move to Dr. Pankaj Garg, who is the founder and advisor of Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. Welcome, Dr. Pankaj, and your views on this topic and how you handled the situation.
नमस्कार गुप्ता जी।
नमस्कार पंकज जी। नमस्कार जी।
कोविड-19 क्राइसिस ने हमको हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन और टेक्निकल एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस को सोचने पर, थिंक करने पर मजबूर किया कि आखिर हमारा एस्टेब्लिशमेंट हुआ क्यों है। हमारे रोल एंड रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी क्या है। हमने जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, अदर एजेंसीज से जो ग्रांट्स ली, ग्रांट्स से लैब एस्टैब्लिश करी, अटल इनोवेशन सेंटर एस्टैब्लिश करे, नेक से ग्रेडिंग ली, AA++, NIRF, सो मेनी ग्रेडिंग्स। लेकिन इस कोविड क्राइसिस में हमने अपने समाज को, अपनी सरकार को क्या योगदान दिया? अगर मैं कहूँ तो ये गलत नहीं होगा कि हायर एजुकेशन को छोड़कर बाकी हर डिपार्टमेंट, चाहे वो स्कूल एजुकेशन हो, चाहे कोई हो, सबका योगदान सरकार को मिल रहा है। हम लोगों ने ना अपनी लैब स्टार्ट करी, ना अपने इनोवेशन सेंटर स्टार्ट करे, जिस काम के लिए हमको लाखों करोड़ों ग्रांट मिली, जबकि होना ये चाहिए था कि इमीडिएटली जो हमारे रिसर्चर हैं, साइंटिस्ट हैं, ग्रांट इन एड प्रोफेसर्स हैं, सबको इंस्टीट्यूशन में पहुंचना चाहिए था, वहाँ रेजिडेंशियल होना चाहिए था। और गवर्नमेंट को सो मैनी अपने पॉलिसीज, अपनी एनालिसिस, लेबोरेटरी बेस्ड रिसर्च एनालिसिस जो भी वो भेज सकते हैं, उस पेपर को पब्लिश करते अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी में और या इंस्टीट्यूशन में, और गवर्नमेंट को रिकमेंडेशन के लिए भेजते। सरकार को आसानी होती अपना काम आगे और बदस्तूर करने के लिए। आज जो हम विभिन्न मुद्दों पर बात कर रहे हैं, ये सब काम हमारे हैं। हमको, हम सभी इंस्टीट्यूशंस के मेंबर्स को इनोवेटिव आइडियाज सोचने चाहिए, किस तरह से लॉकडाउन खुले, कैसे लॉकडाउन लगे, ये सब काम हम इंस्टीट्यूशंस के हैं और सरकार को रिकमेंडेशंस हमारी तरफ से जानी चाहिए थी। हम वहां चूक गए, लेकिन अभी भी समय है, अभी भी पूरा जून है, आधा जुलाई है। हम सबको जो इनोवेशन सेंटर जिसके यहाँ एस्टैब्लिश हैं, रिसर्च लेबोरेटरीज हैं, लाइब्रेरी हैं, हम सबको अपनी रिकमेंडेशंस, हमको वहाँ इमीडिएटली पहुंचना चाहिए, रिकमेंडेशंस गवर्नमेंट को भेजनी चाहिए। और मैं सरकार से भी अनुरोध करूंगा कि एक एक व्हाइट पेपर हर हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन, टेक्निकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस को कंपल्सन करे कि ड्यूरिंग कोविड-19 उसका क्या कंट्रीब्यूशन है। खाने के पैकेट बांटने के अलावा, मास्क बांटने के अलावा, PPT किट बांटने, हम इस काम के लिए नहीं, ये तो सामाजिक सरोकार है, कोई भी कर सकता है। हम इंस्टीट्यूशन जिस काम के लिए हैं वो हमको करने चाहिए। इसके अलावा गुप्ता जी मैं एक और ऐड करूंगा कि अगर हम सब इंस्टीट्यूशन इस रिसर्च में लग जाएं, तो उसके साथ साथ जो हमारे आसपास के समुदाय हैं जहां हमारा एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है, उसकी हम नीड को पहचाने, और नीड को पहचान कर उस नीड पे आधारित अगर हमारी रिसर्च का 25% भाग होगा, हमारे जो स्टार्टअप्स होंगे उसका 25% भाग होगा, जो इनोवेशन हम करें उसका 25% भाग होगा, तो हम लोकल एम्प्लॉयमेंट भी जनरेट कर पाएंगे। और 50% भाग अगर हमारे हिंदुस्तान की जो इंडस्ट्री है, जो प्रोडक्ट बनाती है, उस पे बेस्ड हो, हम उनको सपोर्ट दें। आज इंडस्ट्री बहुत बड़ी क्राइसिस में है, उसको आवश्यकता है वो जो प्रोडक्ट बना रही है उस पे हम रिसर्च करें, रिसर्च करके अगर कोई कमी है तो उनको बताएं, वो दूर करें, नहीं तो अपनी रिसर्च उनको दें, हमारे आउटकम के बेहाफ पर वो अपने प्रोडक्ट को सेल करें। जिस कंट्री के पास R&D डिपार्टमेंट सशक्त है वो बहुत आगे बढ़ जाता है। मुझे आज भी एक किस्सा याद है गुप्ता जी, जब हम छोटे थे तो हमारी ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग जो माताएं करती थी उसके प्रति दुष्प्रचार करके विदेशी कंपनी ने दूध का डिब्बा बेच दिया और हमें पता भी नहीं चला। ऐसे अभी हाइड्रोक्लोरोक्वीन हमारे यहाँ से जा रही थी, अभी मैं कुछ दिन पहले ब्रिटिश का पेपर पढ़ रहा था, उन्होंने उसके अगेंस्ट लिख दिया। हमारे ऊपर सब तरफ से वार हो रहा है। आज हम सब इंस्टीट्यूशन अगर मिल जाएं, अपनी इंडस्ट्री के प्रोडक्ट पर रिसर्च करके उनको सपोर्ट करने लग जाएं, हमारे इंडिया के लोग अपना प्रोडक्ट लेने लग जाएं, सबको रोजगार मिलेगा। और जब रिसर्च कहती है कि इस प्रोडक्ट से लाभ होगा, रिसर्च कहती है कि आप इसको लें तो आपको इससे लाभ होगा, वो प्रोडक्ट ज्यादा सेल होता है। आज क्या होता है, बाहर की रिसर्च आती है और हमारे प्रोडक्ट को नीचे दबा देती है। सबका जिम्मेदार हम हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन है जो हर चीज की तरफ सरकार को देखते हैं। सरकार है क्या? सरकार हम भी स्टेक होल्डर है। अकेले बेचारे IAS IRS क्या करेंगे जब तक हम पीछे से बैकअप सपोर्ट नहीं देंगे। इसलिए अगर आज हम सब लोग मिल जाएं तो कोरोना तो शुरुआत है जी, वायरल इंफेक्शन की, बैक्टीरिया पे हमने राज कर लिया। कोरोना ने हमको बताया है कि अब हमारा नया जीवन कैसे होगा। हमको कैसे जीना चाहिए, ये सब एडवाइजरी यूनिवर्सिटीज की तरफ से होनी चाहिए, गवर्नमेंट को जानी चाहिए। वो बेचारे फाइट कर रहे हैं रात दिन, और हम हायर एजुकेशन के लोग घर में बैठे हैं। आज आप कहते हैं कि ऑनलाइन वीडियोस बनाइए, पढ़ाइए। मुझे बताइए, जो A++ ग्रेड है, जो NIRF ग्रेड के अंदर है, जिसकी रैंकिंग बहुत हाई है, उसको रैंकिंग इन्हीं पैरामीटर पे मिली है कि वो ऑनलाइन काम करते हैं, वो रिसोर्सेज करते हैं, वो इनोवेशन करते हैं। मुझे लगता है इस कोविड के बाद ये सब रैंकिंग का रिव्यू होना चाहिए। वो रैंकिंग वाले इंस्टीट्यूट है कहाँ? मैं देख रहा हूँ IITs, MNITs क्या बना रहे हैं, PPE किट, मास्क, ये काम है इनका। हम नॉन ग्रांटेड एड हैं। हमने 8 पेपर पब्लिश करे, हमने ICMR को अपने यहाँ से रिकमेंडेशन भेजी क्लिनिकल ट्रायल के लिए। ज्योति विद्यापीठ में 500 लोगों का क्वारंटाइन सेंटर है। मैं खुद यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर हूँ, और हम उन क्वारंटाइन सेंटर के पेशेंट्स पे अपनी आयुर्वेदिक होम्योपैथिक दवाओं का प्रयोग कर रहे हैं, और सरकार को भी दे रहे हैं। तो मेरा ये कहना है, हमें बहुत कुछ करना था, हम पीछे रह गए, लेकिन अभी भी समय नहीं निकला है, हमें आगे आ जाना चाहिए। शायद गुप्ता जी ज्यादा बोल गया हूँ। ओवर गुप्ता जी। जी
Dr. Pankaj ji, thanks for your inputs, and since our panelist is also Scott here, so he might not have understood it. So Scott, I think Dr. Pankaj Garg has highlighted that Scott, your audio is off. Your audio is off. Okay. So
Sorry, I was just saying I agree with everything that Dr. Garg said.
so Dr. Garg has mentioned that there is a need for more R&D and more involvement of the institutions in this online education, and we have to look at more innovations in our education ecosystem. So Scott, I am wanting to ask you that in your country, how the whole higher education ecosystem has got affected by the COVID-19. Not only your institution, but overall, if you talk about the overall country also, and how are the institutions and the government dealing with this situation? If you can talk about
I think, the government has been, for those people that don't know Switzerland's quite organized, and the government has a very structured way of going about things. So the government was very clear in when the institutions could no longer have classes. There was we really didn't consider when we could have class or stop class, but we were told when to stop. And so what happened was, I think we've all learned that there's a very big difference between online education and emergency remote learning. And so most of our students weren't prepared for it. And it took several weeks for them to really to kind of gather themselves up. And just like anyone who has made the transition from a traditional office to a virtual office, they had to learn how to go to school with all of their most favorite things surrounding them every day. So initially it was a high distraction environment. We also realized that your more motivated students will make an effort to connect. And quite frankly, even if they have connectivity issues, they will still participate in education. But less motivated students, it's easier for them not to participate. So I think many of us have started to, as we've evolved beyond that emergency phase of going online, we've started to incorporate a lot of gamification. To speak to Dr. Garg's automation, I think gamification has an attraction to it that brings people to the environment, which allows us to teach them. And I think that's been a huge one that's really changed things. And I actually started to use a lot of simulations, and I understand a lot of my colleagues are doing that as well, so that there's work that can take place when we're not face-to-face, and then we can discuss that work when we become face-to-face online, which it seems to be also a common trend that we're seeing and seems to be working. But we still are, the restriction that we have is our classes can only be 4 students or less. So we're not bringing students back yet. And we're waiting for that opportunity when we can actually hold a little bit larger class than that, at least before we do. And most of the institutions in the country are following that same guideline.
Sure. So thanks, Scott, and good to know that the government has been very supportive and proactive in this situation. That's
very structured. If you know the Swiss society, that's why the best watches in the world are made here, because everything is very, very structured. But yeah, it's been nice. It really, you appreciate that kind of structure in this type of a situation, I think more than you probably do in your everyday life, if that makes sense. You know, it's comforting.
Just to ask you, Scott, an additional question that you mentioned in the beginning, that a lot of your students are from outside the country. So, how are you going to handle the next semester, which is going to start? So, while you were doing
I think we're going to ring a bell and sort it out. No, obviously with our students traditionally being of that international makeup, we are quite adept at the visa process in most countries. I've actually done some guest lecturing and recruiting in India for the school, and understand the visa process is quite difficult. But because the government wants to facilitate that, then the embassies also facilitate the educational visas. So it'll be very interesting to see. I think it's going to be extremely diverse based on the regions of the world that people are coming from and the rules in those regions of the world. And it's impossible for us to predict that. So I think we've set this end of July date as when we are very hopeful that enough of it will be restricted that we can get to a critical mass. But we're also understanding that there's going to be an online learning component that continues, even when we bring the students back, because there'll be some that are left behind that can't get here. And so we'll have to cover them as well.
Sure. And may I ask our next panelist, Mr. Ashish Mathur, that you have mentioned that it was a blessing in disguise, and you all went online. So was it easy? Was it challenging? How easy was it for the teachers, and how easy was it for the students? If you can explain that, Ashish.
Yeah, Raviji, it was not easy at all.
Yeah.
See, we when we talk of academics, we have a set thought pattern. We don't move from one pattern to the other. Our faculty, who are senior professors, they were well versed with the chalk and the board and the PowerPoint presentation type of a teaching. Moving them from that mode to the online mode was very challenging. However, the students were very happy on accepting the online teaching initially. But making the faculty trained in that was the biggest challenge. So first week was spent on training the faculty, making them aware that this will happen for next few months. This is the only mode of teaching we'll follow. We had to train them. We had to train on the dynamics of how to make a presentation, on the dynamics of how to teach a subject online, because it is very different from teaching in the classroom pattern. Now, again, Raviji, coming to my point that this was a blessing in disguise, I think I agree with Pankaj sir, what he has said, that the education, the academics had their duty, which they might not have fulfilled in terms of revolutionizing the education. And also with sir there, I think we have a very golden opportunity of starting a hybrid system of education. I think my esteemed panelists will agree to it, that the future lies in the hybrid form of education, where there will be a chalk and board teaching, where there will be classroom teachings, but it will be more and more of online teaching, which will be of rather more importance. So this COVID-19 has given us this opportunity to change the curriculum, to change the whole education system from being just a classroom teaching wherein a teacher just goes into the class and teaches the student, to an online system wherein the students can get the benefit of all the systems, all the knowledge which is there in the universe of the internet. So this has given us a golden opportunity. I think the road forward, and all the policymakers of the education system, all the owners like Pankaj sir, I'll request them to please go ahead and change. We have the golden opportunity to change this education system from being just one-way delivery to this hybrid education system, which the students also enjoy these days. They are very well versed with the online thing, and they were happy and they were compliant, and we'll be happy to know, and we were surprised in fact to know that the attendance in the online classes was touching 90-95%, which we felt very challenging in the classroom. So this online has been taken up by students very well, and they have accepted this.
Excellent. And thank you for the great inputs, Ashish Mathurji. And may I request Professor M.K. Gadolia to talk about that, how, what were the challenges and from the teachers and the students, like what was your experience?
Yeah, thank you, sir. First of all, let me say that the biggest challenge while during the online education which we faced was the screen timings, because the classroom lectures are of the duration of 1 hour, but you cannot just say that students will sit in front of his computer or microphone for 1 full hour. So the biggest challenge is to reduce the 1 hour content into say half an hour or say 40 minutes or less than that, so that the students can listen the lectures carefully. It is correct that all the faculty members are not well versed with this particular type of technology, and they cannot deliver their lectures within a short span of time. So I perfectly agree with the training requirement which Mr. Ashish Mathur has said, that there is a training requirement, and online delivery needs a big training to all the faculty members, which we will have to address. Then I also agree with the Scott Dull, who has just given the emphasis on the student admission from the cross country. So if you look at this particular phenomena, that the Indian universities are not being permitted to deliver online education, they are putting a limit of say 25% of the content, and this can be done if the UGC becomes somewhat liberal and give us some more delivery content. And then also the distinguish between the distance education and the face-to-face teaching. There also a challenge, particularly while we are going online, then we cannot control our audience, whether they are from our area or from other areas. So government will have to think on particular aspect, that how this particular difference can be made out, this challenge can be taken off, and a blended sort of technology in which we have some course contents delivery online and some contents delivery offline in the classroom teaching. So we will have to use the blended technology sort of thing. Then also we will have to look at the research and development, which was just emphasized by Dr. Pankaj Gupta, that this particular thing is very, very important, that if R&D is going on simultaneously with the classroom delivery, it will help the students a lot, and they will come forward and will attach with us to meet the challenges of the new coming education system, which is the need of the hour. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Garolia. And may I request Pankaj ji to speak, and I will request, if possible, if you can speak in English so that Scott is here and he can also understand it. Pankaj ji, please.
स्कॉट जी इंडिया की किसी उसमें आए हैं तो उनको अपने साथ लैंग्वेज का ध्यान रखना चाहिए ना। हम अपनी मदर लैंग्वेज में बोलेंगे, जिसका नाम फर्स्ट लैंग्वेज है सर। हमारे जो स्टूडेंट हैं गांव से भी आते हैं, उन तक बात हमारी पहुंचनी चाहिए।
ठीक है
जी,
हाँ, आई विल ट्रांसलेट, डोंट वरी।
हाँ जी,
ठीक। पंकज जी, सो आपके इंस्टीट्यूशन में, आप इस जो सिचुएशन में जो यूनिवर्सिटी हैज स्टार्टेड ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन, तो चैलेंजेस आपको आए
जी,
आप अगर बताएंगे उसके बारे में तो।
जी गुप्ता जी, जी हम आपको बताएं, हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी की जो टीचिंग मेथोडोलॉजी है उसमें ये पहले से ही समावेश था कि हमारे जो शिक्षकगण हैं, जो हमारे टीचर है, इंटेलेक्चुअल कैपिटल है हमारा, वो ई नोट्स पहले से ही बनाते थे। वीडियोस का हमारे यहाँ पहले से प्रावधान था, क्योंकि डिस्टेंस एजुकेशन हम चलाते हैं ऑलरेडी। कम्युनिटी रेडियो स्टेशन हमारे पास ऑलरेडी है, जेबी टीवी ऑलरेडी हमारे पास है। तो ये सब प्रक्रियाएं हमारे यहाँ के जितने टीचर हैं सब जानते हैं, पहले से कर रहे थे, हमको कोई दिक्कत नहीं आई। इमीडिएटली हमने डिजिटल वर्जन उसको थोड़ा अपग्रेडेशन करा और लॉन्च कर दिया। हमारी बिटियाएं सब अपने घर से बैठ के पढ़ रही हैं। अब जो मेन बात आ रही है वो ये आ रही है कि जो इवैल्यूएशन है, अभी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने इवैल्यूएशन का अधिकार सिर्फ उन्हीं यूनिवर्सिटीज को दिया है जो टॉप 100 में है ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन का। बाकी यूनिवर्सिटीज को एवेल्युएशन ऑनलाइन करने का अधिकार नहीं है। ज्यादा वो अगर करें तो मैं कंटिन्यूअस असेसमेंट कर सकते हैं। तो कंटिन्यूअस असेसमेंट ऑलरेडी हमारे यहाँ पहले से हो रहा था, वो ऑनलाइन ही लिया करते थे। एंड टर्म का अभी तक प्रोविजन है नहीं, जब कभी यूजीसी डिक्लेयर करेगी तब उसको देखा जाएगा। बाकी जो मेन है वो बैंडविड्थ का प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है क्लाइंट लेवल पर, यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल पर कोई नहीं है। हमारे सभी टीचर्स आज भी, बस हमने इतना चेंज किया है कि उसको यूट्यूब पे कर दिया है। जितने भी वीडियोस हैं वो यूट्यूब पर जा रहे हैं और बिटियाओं को एक टाइम टेबल शेड्यूल आता है। डिजिटल वर्जन 2.0 हमारी वेबसाइट पर है, कोई भी व्यक्ति उसको देख सकता है। हमने गवर्नमेंट ऑफ राजस्थान को भी अप्रोच कर दिया है कि कोई भी उसको चाहे तो दे दें, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ MBBS और वेटरनरी छोड़ के सभी प्रोग्राम चलते हैं। मतलब हम हर प्रोग्राम का ई कंटेंट, वीडियो, उसके क्वेश्चंस सब प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं जी। हमने फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट ऑफर कर रखा है। बस गुप्ता जी इसमें
श्योर बोलिए।
गुप्ता जी आपने क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा लेकिन मौका दिया तो मैं छोड़ूंगा नहीं।
बिल्कुल।
हमको एक थोड़ा सा सहयोग चाहिए कि हम लोग बार बार स्किल की बात करते हैं। स्किल हमारे यहाँ क्या है, कुछ नॉमेनक्लेचर चेंज करो और उसमें 1-2 साल निकाल दो, ठीक है। तो अब आजकल वो स्किल चल गया, स्किल। जबकि हमको अभी तक ये नहीं पता कि हिंदुस्तान में कौन सी इंडस्ट्री लग रही है और उसको क्या स्किल चाहिए। जबकि प्रोडक्शन का काम हमारा है, ह्यूमन पावर हम देंगे। या हम मैन पावर नहीं बोलेंगे क्योंकि हम बिटियाओं को बढ़ाते हैं, वुमेन पावर वर्ड नहीं है, तो ह्यूमन पावर हम देंगे। और ह्यूमन पावर देने वाले को ये नहीं पता कि हिंदुस्तान की इंडस्ट्री कितनी लगी और नेक्स्ट 5 इयर्स में उसको क्या स्किल चाहिए। गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया अगर अपने NOC जो देती है उसमें अगर एक प्रोविजन कर दे, सिर्फ इतना कर दे कि नेक्स्ट 5 इयर्स की आपको जो स्किल्ड ह्यूमन पावर चाहिए उसका डिटेल मांग ले, स्पेसिफिक जो उसको कंडीशंस चाहिए, जो नॉलेज चाहिए वो मांग ले, और प्राइवेट पोर्टल पे आप जैसों के पे या गवर्नमेंट अपने पोर्टल पे उसको डिस्क्लोज कर दे। हमारी एकेडमिक काउंसिल उसको देख लेगी और कंटेंट उसके अकॉर्डिंग बना लेगी या ले लेगी, हायर कर लेगी, और हम उस प्रोडक्ट को तैयार कर देंगे। तो मेरा हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन से यही निवेदन है कि सब लोग अपने नियर बाई में देखो कि कौन सी इंडस्ट्री को क्या जरूरत है, जिससे ये माइग्रेशन हो रहा है। आज अब लॉकडाउन खुल गया, अब हम परेशान है कि फैक्ट्रियां कैसे चलें। फैक्ट्रियों में स्किल्ड लोग नहीं है, स्किल्ड लोग कौन देगा, हम ही तो देंगे। मतलब ये बड़ी दुर्भाग्य है कि जो देगा उसको पता नहीं। और इस गैप को पाटने के लिए, इस गैप को खत्म करने के लिए लंबी लंबी कॉन्फ्रेंस, लंबे एक्सपर्ट, जबकि सिर्फ इतना सा करना है कि एक वर्ड जोड़ दो कि आपको नेक्स्ट 5 इयर्स में स्किल पीपल कितने चाहिए, उसके अंदर क्या होना चाहिए। अरे हम अपने कैरिकुलम को चेंज कर देंगे इमीडिएटली और आपको इन्फॉर्म भी कर देंगे कि आपका स्किल्ड ह्यूमन पावर हमारे यहाँ जन्म ले चुका है, बॉन्ड हो गया है, चाहो तो उसे देख लो। उसकी ट्रेनिंग कराने आपके यहाँ भेज देंगे, उसकी इंटर्नशिप आपके यहाँ भेज देंगे, आपके यहाँ से गेस्ट लेक्चर बुला लेंगे, वो आके देख लेगा सब कुछ सही है और हो गया प्लेसमेंट। तो आप एक अच्छा नेक काम कर रहे हैं साहब। सब लोग घरों में हैं, उन सबको मिला रहे हैं, जोड़ रहे हैं। तो आपके माध्यम से कभी अगर इस पर कोई कॉन्फ्रेंस साहब लोगों को बुलाएं जो भी पॉलिसी मेकर हैं, तो बड़ा अच्छा रहेगा कि उनके संज्ञान में ये जाए कि एक वर्ड उसमें इंक्लूड कर दें बस।
Sure.
जी, ओवर।
So let me translate what Dr. Pankaj has said, and Scott, I want you to address that. He is talking about mapping of supply and demand, that institutions are producing skilled human capital, human power, and but how many skilled human power is needed for X industry or Y industry or Z sector? That data is not available in our country so easily. It's not organized. So Scott, if you can talk about that, how, like, what is the situation, like how it happens in your country, and are you aware that how many trained human resource in X sector or Y sector is needed for the coming year or for next 2 years, 3 years? So if you can explain this process. Scott.
Yeah, I think you could probably find some statistical information if you really look. But I think it's accomplished in a much more practical sense here. The Swiss style of education is heavy with internships. It's heavy with industry partnerships. There's a lot of applied learning. And I think where that has an impact on shaping careers is that people get in touch with actual companies, employers earlier in their education process. And schools align with education, or schools align with companies based on needs, and companies with certain skill needs align with schools because they want to influence the curriculum in that way. The perfect example is the master's degree that I'm responsible for. It's specifically a master's degree in hospitality strategy and digital transformation. And most people don't realize, or many people don't really think of it very consciously, but the hospitality industry is a very traditional industry, but we sell 85% of our product online. So it's a very kind of almost contradictory, right, in some ways. So, and that degree is coming as a result of that part of the industry initially hiring generally trained hotel students, but telling us, if you could give some of these guys a head start in their careers in this area of specificity, we'd be interested in hiring those people. So I think to a certain extent, we kind of lag a little bit behind the demand in terms of producing those skills. But I think the closer you can connect yourself to industry, the more you can be in touch with what the demand is in the moment, not anecdotal demand later on after the fact. And that, I think that's really, honestly, how we've been most cutting edge is to circumvent the research and the statistics stuff and really be more in touch with industry and to be meeting their needs with our students in the future.
Fantastic. Scott, thanks for the inputs on this question and the point raised by Mr. Pankaj, which is a very, very relevant point about demand and supply. And I can see Dr. Gadolia wanted to speak about it.
It would be amazing for students as they select their process in the very beginning to have an idea of what that actual demand is. It would be amazing to somehow institutionalize that. But like I said, even if it is, it's not as effective as the practical application of speaking to the employers.
Sure. Dr. Gadolia, please.
Yeah, I want to add one particular thing, that the question which was raised by Dr. Pankaj Garg regarding the demand supply gap and the knowledge of skills. He gave his suggestion that the government should come forward and provide the list of the areas where there is a gap and the government needs the skill development program to be run by the universities. Well, I want to add here that there is no ready-made solution with the government. Even the government of India, government of Rajasthan, does not know what are the skill gaps and what are the industries which will be joining us in the next 5 years. So I think taking the clue from his initial talk, he has said that research and development should go hand in hand. So it will be better that if we provide the projects to our students and to our interns, that what are the skill gaps in our areas. They come up, they go in the field, they make surveys, and they come up with the reports, and accordingly, in every academic council, in the next year's academic council, we pass such courses and provide the need-based education to our students. So this can fill up the gap of demand and supply in the area in a much what we call coordinated manner. It will be better if we think this particular suggestion.
Excellent inputs. And may I request our other speaker to give your comment on this, please?
Yeah, I wanted to add in. I look after the placements in the university. See, the placement scenario has
Please
become
speak
very
loudly. आपकी आवाज बहुत हल्की है, so
Hello?
थोड़ा पास आ जाइए. हाँ.
Hello. Now is it audible?
Yes.
See, when we talk of the placements and the skill gap, one thing we need to keep in mind as the university, as the academic institution, that placements is a very dynamic process nowadays. Whatever skill sets are required now will be redundant in next 3-4 years. So we should always be on our feet, and it is our challenge. It is up to the university to make the student ready for these skills. Now it is for us to bridge the gap between the industry and the academia. What I feel is government will be playing its part in telling us that these are the skill sets which are required. rather than depending on the government. It is for the academics to go to the corporates, wherein comes the points of the internships. To as much as interaction is there with the government, with the corporates, will come to know what skill sets are required. 70% of skill sets which we have today will be redundant, that we should be very clear as the academic institutions, as the universities. So if we want our students to be up there, to be absorbed in the placements, to be placed in good organizations, we should make sure that they visit corporates. The internships program happen every year, which are happening maybe once in a 4-year course, like in engineering. In the engineering course, they have a internship after the 3rd year, and the last semester the internship. Why not make a program wherein it is internship every year? Why not they visit the industries regularly? And also, what we are planning to start in the university, we'll send our faculties also to the corporates, because they are the people who come and teach to the students. Once the faculty goes and takes internship in the corporates, they'll be well versed and they will know what to teach the students. So placements, it's a very dynamic. Skill sets, we need to evolve. We need to keep on adding skills every year. They keep on changing. And it's the internships with the corporates, which are the most important things we keep into the mind as an institution, if we want our students to be placed in the best of the best organizations. The terms like IoTs, the terms like blockchains, the terms like or any other will be redundant. Maybe after 2-3 years, we'll be talking about something new. So we need to be upon our toes, and we need to go to the corporates and ask them, what do you require? We'll train our students on that.
Yes. Great inputs, Ashish, and great inputs for Professor M.K. Gajolia on the skill set requirements, demand mapping. And we are almost at the end of the this time of the panel. Last 5 minutes are there. So I'm going to ask each of the panelists to talk about the new opportunities which have emerged because of COVID-19 situation, which were unthought earlier. So what are the silver linings? So each of you, please talk about 1 minute or 1.5 minutes each on the emerging opportunities due to the COVID-19 situation. So requesting Scott, you please start. Scott.
Sure. I think for me in education, the first and foremost one is when we talk about online learning, I'll never talk about online learning from the perspective of imagine when. I'll now talk about online learning from the perspective of remember when. And so I'll have something to build on. And so I think that I'll have things that worked and things that didn't work. I'll understand that it's no longer herding sheep as much as it's attracting fish because the environment is different than we teach in. So I think that's probably the big one for me personally. The opportunity there's two things really that I think are huge that emerge from this. First of all, post every crisis, there's a period of innovation. And so I think if people think innovatively and they think disruptively even, I think there's opportunities for people. So if anyone is looking at graduating right now, it's bleak. You're absolutely right. But as an old guy who's been through a couple of cycles, I would also tell you that it's bleak for 90 or 120 days, and it's really fun for 5 or 6 years after that because things are different and things are dynamic and people are willing to try new things. The other thing that's very unique about it right now, if you were graduating, I would say, is find a mentor. Because right now, people with wisdom are willing to give back. And quite frankly, we all realize that it's kind of a bad deal right now if you're getting ready to graduate, if you're a student. And so I think that gives you an opportunity really to appeal to someone as a younger person and find someone that can help you plot those choices. Because as you mentioned, it's currently the Internet of Things. If it hadn't been for COVID, it was going to be artificial intelligence before the end of the year. Then it was going to be something else. So I think the important thing is to learn how to manage your life and your career to a happy location, not to learn how to manage the Internet of Things, because that's going to be, with the fax machine in 5 or 10 years. So I think it's really that. I think right now is a period to reinvent yourself. If you don't, you'll be really disappointed when it's over with. So I'd say find a mentor and learn how to chase the kind of the goal you want, not the specific skill set for today, because it's not going to be the same as has already been mentioned.
Sure. Excellent inputs, Scott, that at this time, anyone who's graduating should find a mentor and take some guidance. Yes, Professor M.K. Gadolia, your inputs on what are the opportunities in this situation? Please speak for 1.5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Just in short, as had been well said, that every problem or every challenge gives birth to the new opportunities. So this problem also has given birth to many new opportunities, and that's why today we are discussing this particular topic, that what new opportunities have come in the way of the online education. What I think, and which is more relevant now, is that first of all, the government should rethink about its definition of distance education, regular face-to-face teaching, and online teaching, because this is the time where the new definitions will have to be performed and the new definition will have to be coming, so that this particular gap and the departmentalization between the distance education, open education, and the regular education go away. Then we will have to plan about the connectivity in the rural areas, because the biggest challenge nowadays is that we do not have that type of connectivity in the rural areas which we have in urban areas. Every now and then the power supply goes off, the speed of internet is very slow. So even if a student from the remotest villages of our areas wish to go for the online education, there will be a problem of disconnectivity and the persons will not be able to listen the lectures. So this will have to be do away with. Then government should provide the better quality contents. Already it is doing on MOOC and SWAYAM platform, wherein we are getting the good quality lectures through ePathshala and other platforms. So these platforms should be made open, and we should be given the choice to select some courses, and this particular credit can be given by the university if a student selects courses from the MOOC which is already there, but some more work is to be done so that the society accepts those types of selections. Then one more problem which may come into the way of this online education is the employment to the faculty. At present, many persons are expressing their fear that if more and more online education will come, there will be a problem of employment for the better quality of faculty, and the universities and other organizations which are employing persons to deliver the lectures, there will be less requirements. So this aspect, this is of course a social aspect, but we will have to look into this particular aspect, that how we can save the employment of the faculty so that there is no unemployment crisis. And lastly, the quality, equity, and the other traditional issues, access, which we are addressing, should also be looked into this particular online platform. Thank you.
Sure. Excellent inputs, and requesting Dr. Pankaj Garg to give your inputs and concluding remarks briefly.
जी सर, जी मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हम सभी इंस्टीट्यूशंस को आइडेंटिफिकेशन करें नीड का, आखिर जरूरत क्या है, और इंटीग्रेशन एंड कोरिलेशन पे ध्यान दें। नीड और रिसोर्स दोनों को मैच कराएं, मैप करा दें, और फिर सप्लाई मार्केट में दे दें, सोसाइटी को दे दें। बस इतनी सी आवश्यकता है। इससे सोसाइटी का भी भला होगा और रिसोर्स का ऑप्टिमाइज यूज हो जाएगा, क्योंकि रिसर्च बहुत हो गई, बहुत कर ली रिसर्च। अब तो बस इंटीग्रेशन और कोरिलेशन का टाइम है, और जिन सब्जेक्ट्स पर रिसर्च हो गई उस पर दोबारा हम लोग इन्वेस्टमेंट ना करें, सिर्फ इंटीग्रेशन करें नीड के अकॉर्डिंग और प्रोडक्ट सप्लाई करें,
Sure.
जिससे तुरंत रिलैक्स मिल सके, इमीडिएट रिलैक्स मिल सके। जी
Thank you. Matching of demand and supply is critical, as Dr. Pankaj Garg has mentioned. Ashish Mathur ji, your closing remarks in last 1 minute.
I think I would say this is a golden opportunity to reinvent the education system. From a simple classroom system, we need to move on to the hybrid or the blended education system. इससे अच्छा मौका भारतवर्ष के लिए नहीं आएगा कि हम अपने एजुकेशन सिस्टम में थोड़ा सा रिफॉर्म कर लें. And this COVID has also improved the quality of teaching, and it will improve the quality of teaching, because online education, you need to deliver a quality content, then only the student will come and they will learn for that. So it's a golden opportunity for us to reinvent the education system and make it more practical, make it more complementary to the demands of the day.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Ashish, and requesting Scott that you are in a panel which is all Indian panel, and you are a person who's from the outside. So, in a minute or two, give us your comments on what you felt about the challenges which the Indian education system is facing in this time of COVID, and how are they different or similar with your country?
It's interesting. I think one of the ones you mentioned is connectivity and technology. Our technology infrastructure here is extremely current, all the way to the furthest reaches of the country. And I think you have one of those things. You have an initial problem just with delivery in terms of being able to have people go online. And I think your classroom, having done some lecturing in your country, I think your classroom density is very high too. So at the point when you bring people back together, I think that presents a problem as well. So I would say automation is a big one. And I think that the way that gets overcome, I think several panelists have mentioned it. I think that it's a partnership with corporations. It's a partnership with the private sector that probably helps overcome that, or at least that's what's helped overcome it with us. When we can't find solutions to things, we typically can approach the larger hotel companies. We're specifically a hotel school, but it would be the same for a technical school. We typically can approach the larger hotel companies, and they'll participate in helping us come up with some kind of a solution, because we have a proven track record of producing people that they want to hire. Therefore, when they can have input on the process, they can, they often take advantage of that. And it'll be interesting to see as funding shifts a little bit over the next couple of years if that becomes more difficult. But that's historically been the case. So from a perspective of India, I would really encourage the one thing that I heard a little bit of that I think I would really encourage you to look at more is to look at the private sector. And I would, my own personal cynicism is not have very much expectation from government, because it can be accomplished without much intervention from government or without much assistance from government. So if the government can help you do it, it's only going to speed the process. But that would be my input. Really is go, align your curriculum more closely with the people that are going to be hiring your students. It only helps you from a marketing perspective, and then have them help you make your content as current as possible, have help with technology and those kind of things.
Excellent. I think interesting statement that don't expect too much from the government and collaborate with the private sector. That will be
as an American, I'd be trained that as well. So, but anyway, yeah, I think it's wonderful, but it can be seen as an add-on. You can continue to move forward, and then if the government gets behind it, it simply gets more momentum, as opposed to having too much of an expectation. I don't think it's there. And I think you'll find enlightened corporations, just like the work from home thing. I teach digital transformation, and we mentioned that there's going to be an issue with motivating employees in the future. I actually think there's a little bit different issue. I think you're going to find employers that use that as the way to motivate and get the best possible people. If they tell you, I want you to come work, we're not hiring you yet, but if you come to work for us, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to install fiber optic internet at your house. We're going to give you an extremely fast laptop. If it ever becomes too slow, you're just going to get a new one. We're going to do all these things. Our meetings are structured like this. You don't come to the office. I think that the companies that understand how to package that up well will actually have the ability to pick the most talented people in the future. I think it's going to be the other way around, that we'll adapt our situation to those needs. So I see that as an opportunity, personally. I see that as an exciting opportunity, because companies will be left behind. Who wants to work for an old school company that makes me go to work when I don't have to? I think that's it's going to be it's going to be a recruiting tool in the future, even. So I think it's something to grab onto.
Yes, amazing discussions we had from the rural issues to the most modern and challenging issues from the Western world also. So interesting panel, diverse set of speakers and diverse set of opinions, and excellent set of recommendations and suggestions have come from everyone. And I want to thank all the speakers for taking your time out for this panel. Thank you, Dr. Pankaj, Professor M.K. Gadolia, Mr. Ashish Mathur, and Scott Adel for joining us. Thank you, and namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi Gupta.
Namaste
Thank
to
you,
everyone.
Dr. Gupta. You are
Namaste,
excellent
Scott.
job.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank
Thank you.
you very much. Thank you for having me. Have a fantastic day. Have a great conference.
Namaskar भाई लोगों.
Namaskar. Namaskar. And I request each of you to please like and share this video on the YouTube
Ji.
and Facebook. Let the idea just spread
Sure.
as much as
Absolutely.
जी.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Thank you,
definitely.
Ravi.
definitely.
Thank you.
It was a
and-
pleasure.
Okay.